That I wanted to share with you a little bit of things that I have been taught, have learned, particularly about Aruveydic, that have increased my ability to experience life at this age in a complete, full way, so that I'm able to do things that are important to me with joy and not aches and pains and some of the diseases that plague many in our society. You know, it's very interesting. I was introduced to Aruveydic when I was living in New York back in the mid-60s. A man came to, I'm sorry, in the 70s. A man came to give lectures, and a friend suggested that I would find it very interesting to go and talk with him. His name was Dr. Chandrasekhar Thakur, and he had quite a reputation for the knowledge and his treatment. He treated all of the Bollywood stars, and he spent a lot of time in his own factory, manufacturing his own medicines from scratch, and he had all this reputation in India. And one of my friends had seen him in India and prevailed upon him to come to New York. So when I went, there were perhaps 150 eager seekers to hear this man give his discourse. And he was quite phenomenal. He had an encyclopedic memory, and so he just spoke to us for a Friday night and all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And then he said, anyone who's interested in trying some of the things that I had, and he opened up this little duffel bag, and he had all of these bottles that had been bottled at his factory. And of course we had heard about things that sounded pretty amazing, so we went up and we, you know, got some things, and he said, and you know, now I'm going back to India, my patients are waiting. And we thought, oh, I wonder if he's coming back. So that's where it started. So what he shared with me was quite interesting. You know, in many traditions there is old knowledge, thousands of years old, about natural things that we eat or things that we can do. The Indians have that kind of knowledge, and because they have a real love for writing things in a very systematized way, and they give credit to the wise ones, the rishis, the gods. So the Vedas, the Charita is the text that is used in that system. Now, Aruvedic physicians actually study all of the things that our medical doctors do. They study all the bones and all the systems, and you know, and how everything works. And that it is an allopathic system, which means that some of you may have heard of homeopathic, which means that you take something that causes the condition that you have in your body to be heightened. So you give something that causes a like condition in order to treat what you're trying to overcome. Allopathic, in a way, you could say that it treats from the opposite direction. With Aruvedic, you are not using chemicals, however, you are using natural ingredients. So it's really a matter of using foods and finding the properties of the foods that will be most useful in overcoming the conditions. Now, what are the things that we're concerned about as we age? We're concerned about our memories, our mind. We're concerned about our vision. We're concerned about our hearing. We're concerned about our teeth. we're concerned about our hair falling gray. I took my hair out because this is not a weave, this is me. And you know, we're concerned about our bones, that we can walk around comfortably, and you know, that we don't have arthritis or atherosclerosis or these other conditions. And with a system like Aruveydic, it starts from the cradle, of course, with things that you can give a child. When I gave birth to my son, I ate a very special combination of fruits and nuts and herbs and spices for 13 days, and along with some chai tea with cinnamon, cardamom, clove, ginger, and black pepper. And I ate that throughout the day. And I could actually feel the organs tightening and feel the cleansing action that this gave. And this was the Aruveydic way of doing things. So I didn't, you know, immediately start to eat foods, and, you know, after having had a C-section and all of that, I didn't, you know, kill my system by doing abrupt things. I used food, but I used it in a very special, particular way. Now, Ayurvedic physicians, of course, like our allopathic physicians here, can prescribe medicinal levels of different herbs and combinations of food and herbs, so that they can help you to overcome different conditions that you may occur. But as a householder, you can use many of these things yourselves in a preventive way, and are encouraged to do that, to maintain your health, to maintain balance. It's all about balancing. And there are simple things that you do. It's done on an individual basis. So you don't say, oh, this person has a cold, that person has a cold, I'm going to give them the same thing. This person says that they have a pain in their knee, and so I'm going to give them a particular kind of ointment, and that's going to cure them. If you are, you know, perhaps in my generation, and you are experiencing some discomfort in some way, I'll tell you the thing that he did when he first met me. He asked me my birthday, and he took my hand, and he put his finger to take the 3 pulses here. And at the same time, he was looking at my palm. And he was calculating in his head my chart. He then told me where my weaknesses were. I didn't have to tell him. I found that in itself amazing. I mean, I have many doctors whom I respect very much in the system, but I've never had one anticipate what was going to be wrong with me. I went to him, and I told him or her, and I told them what my ailment was. And I had a number of them as a young woman. So this was already. So what he was doing then was using a combination of medical astrology, looking at the palm and seeing, calculating in his head what your chart was and what this said about the predisposition that you might have for certain things in your system being strengths and certain things being challenges for you. So that's the idea of bringing things into balance, that if you are preconditioned, as I was, I have, as a child, had every tooth filled in my mouth. I took plenty of vitamin D, I drank milk every day, I did all of that. And somehow, my teeth were just not very strong. My mother developed osteoporosis, so there was a genetic condition. People said, oh, well, you know, this is what's going to happen to you. No, doesn't have to be. Because there are things that you take naturally. Bamboo has calcium. All right, so it's a food. You take the bamboo along with other things, and then you offset. You don't have to have that. My teeth are now very strong. They are what they are from years ago, but I have no problem. You know, I keep them clean, I keep them brushed, I take very good care of them now, and I have had no difficulty with them for many years. I use, on a regular basis, some very simple things, because I know what the tendencies are, what the predispositions are in his family. I know what is balancing me. I can see, you know, with the changing of the seasons, what I need to do. If I am exposed to, you know, if there are 10 people sitting around me and they're hacking away and coughing and everything, then I know that my immune system needs to be hot. I just had this, it's Chuan Prash, which is about 20 herbs and spices put together.
How do you spell that, Lakshmi?
And it's CHYA, WANPRASH. And there are many companies that put it out. There are very good companies here that put it out. You can buy it at an Indian store very, very inexpensively, and get this great big bottle, you know, for less than $10.
And what does it do? What does it help with?
It helps with your immune system. So I'm not concerned about taking immunizations. Here it is. Here it is. Every morning I get up and I take my tonic that includes Shilajit.
Tell us about Shilajit. Shilajit. I've heard a lot about Shilajit.
You know, there are those people who live for 150 years up in the mountains, in the Himalayas, and up in the region between what was known as Russia, up in Asia, and they live for a long, long time. And people have studied them, and they've talked about the fact that they use yogurt and everything. Well, it seems that there is another thing that they use. There's a substance that comes out from between the plates, the tectonic plates in the mountains, and it oozes out. In this country, we might call it mineral pitch. But there, it is a substance that is known as Shilajit.
And how do you spell that?
Shilajit. Now, people noticed, someone was just reminding me recently, people noticed that the human beings were living longer. They also noticed that the animals, like the monkeys that were running around, those who were eating this stuff,
this Shilajit,
lived a long time. Talk about anti-aging. It's almost like a fountain of youth. It's a balancer. It regenerates, it cleanses, it just smooths out your system, and is a tonic that I depend on. This is the first thing I do in the morning after my prayers, after my meditation. Okay. Water, lots of water, 20 ounces of water on an empty stomach, and then my tonic.
With Shilajit in it.
With the Shilajit is the main ingredient, and the people there really seem to thrive under conditions that others might think would be very harsh conditions. It's very cold. It's you know, there's little vegetation, but they thrive. They thrive. And many people who have brought this substance back and done research with it discovered, I heard a wonderful story at one point of a man who had problems with a brown recluse spider that is poisonous, and he actually was losing his vision and ready to have amputation. He went over, he brought this substance back, the Shilajit, and took it according to what the Ayurvedic physician had told him, and he did not have the amputation. His vision got better, and he even lost some weight. So you know, it's really an amazing substance, and this is the kind of thing that has been used for thousands of years in the Ayurvedic system. It's one of the key things. There's another ingredient, and that is one of the ingredients on this Chwana brush that I mentioned before. The doctor that I studied with, Dr. Tucker, invited me, along with a few other students, to come and stay with him. And it was helpful to me because I was doing some research and I needed to go to India to pursue that. So I went and stayed with him and had another interesting experience, which I'll tell you about in 1 minute. But he had his own factory, as I mentioned, to make sure the things that he prescribed were put together in exactly the way that he wanted them to be put together. And his wife, also an Ayurvedic physician, supervised the factory. He treated the patients, and they had this really very beautiful partnership. And I stayed in their home and just observed the way that they integrated in their life all of these things. You know, everything had a purpose. Food is not spicy just because you want to make it hot. It's got some spice or herb that is present in it because it has a substance. If you're drinking, for example, every night boiled milk, and you have some soaked almonds, anti-carcinogens, yes, and you have the boiled milk. Now, how is it that these Indians, who are also brown-skinned, southern, don't have an allergy to the lactose? Why is that? Well, they put something in the milk. There's cardamom seed in the milk. Okay, cardamom helps you digest the milk. Sometimes they put a little turmeric in there, which is, we know, is an anti-cancer agent. Another thing that as we're aging, we concern ourselves about the different types of cancer that take hold. The cancers take hold, and they don't come about overnight. If you ask a physician, they will tell you that when the cancer presents itself so that you can see it, it's been growing for 10, 20 years in your body. Your body was toxic. Your body was out of balance, and finally, because there was not a correction made, then the cancer is able to make itself manifest to the point where it actually disturbs you and you can't function in the normal way. So, taking the milk every night, very purposeful. Every morning, tea, bed tea, as they say. And the same thing that I mentioned before, 5 spices. Many times when you buy the chai tea, you know, it will have a certain combination. Theirs was very specific: cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, ginger, and black pepper. More cardamom than the other things, and black pepper very little. All right? And each one of those things has properties that is a tonic, something that helps to clear the mucus, and something that is helpful for keeping the balance in your body. The ginger, of course, energizing. We don't have to be frail when we're older. We don't have to lack energy. We can go out and take walks. We can, you know, continue to lead very productive lives when we are properly nourished. And this is a system for doing that, just that. Now, there's one other aspect. When I was in India, I was introduced to another teacher, and that was a tantric teacher. Oh. Now, I'll tell you that when Dr. Tucker came to New York, someone asked him a question, and he mentioned Tantra. And everybody there said, "Oh, you know about Tantra?" And you could see all of the excitement and everything. And many of us, and I'll include myself in it, thought in terms of heightened experience,
you can use the word
sexual postures. We knew about the Kama Sutra. That was a book that had been, you know, along with Henry Miller and all those folks, you know, that had come out during the 60s and the revolution that had gone on in society, and which had helped to bring these teachers here. I mean, the revolution that went on in the 60s was just multifaceted. So there was a sexual revolution, free sex, all right? So Tantra was something that was whispered about